Senator from Illinois.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that we vitiate the quorum call.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to set aside the pending amendment and call up the Kirk-Pryor Amendment number 123.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object, on 10 to my understanding is the senator from Illinois would do this to offer his amendment and then would not object to his amendment then being set aside and to go back to the manager's amendment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I will not object.
Without objection, is ordered. The clerk will report.
I ask unanimous
The
consent.
senator from
Clerk will
Illinois,
report.
Mr. Kirk, proposes an amendment numbered 123.
I ask unanimous consent that the reading of the amendment be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Kirk-Pryor Amendment seeks to assist some of our greatest innovators by providing a fast lane within the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for small businesses to receive information and assistance regarding their patent applications. Small businesses are the economic engine of the American economy. According to the Small Business Administration, small businesses employ just over half of all private sector employees and create over 50% of our non-farm GDP. Illinois alone is home to 258,000 small employers and more than 885,000 self-employers. The small businesses are helping to lead the way on the American innovation. These firms produce 13 times more patents per employee than large patenting firms, and their patents are twice as likely to be among the most cited among all patents. Small business breakthroughs led to the development of airplanes, FM radio, and the personal computer. Unfortunately, the share of small entity patents is declining, according to a New York University researcher. While S-23 makes a great stride in reforming our patent system, it can still be daunting for a small business owner or inventor to obtain a patent. In many instances, the value of a patent is the only thing keeping that new small business afloat. It's vital for America's future competitiveness, her economic growth, and her job creation that these innovators spend their time developing new products and processes that will build our future, not wading through government red tape. Our amendment would help small firms navigate the bureaucracy by establishing the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office Ombudsman Program to assist small businesses with their patent filing issues. The provision was first conceived of as part of the Small Business Bill of Rights, which I introduced in the House to expand employment and help small businesses grow. The Small Business Bill of Rights and this amendment are endorsed by the National Federation of Independent Businesses. I'm proud to have this as part of a 10-point plan to be considered here in the Senate. I want to thank Senator Mark Pryor of Arkansas, who is the lead Democratic co-sponsor of this amendment. He's a strong and consistent supporter of small business, and I appreciate his partnership on this important program. I also want to thank Chairman Leahy and Ranking Member Grassley and their staff for working with us on this amendment and for preserving this critical legislation. Our founding fathers recognized the importance of a strong patent system that protects and incentivizes innovators. I look forward to supporting S-23 and providing a strong intellectual property rights to further technological advancement. In sum, we should help foster innovation by protecting innovators. They are especially small business men and women, and urge adoption of the amendment. I yield back.
President.
Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, I thank the senator from Illinois for his contribution to this. I would now ask consent that we set aside the Kirk-Pryor amendment and go back to the have as a pending business to manager's amendment.
Without objection.
And, Mr. President, I understand another senator to come down to speak. In the meantime, I would suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka?
Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, I ask consent to call the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
And I ask unanimous consent that the distinguished senator from Michigan, Senator Stabenow, be recognized as though in morning business.
Without objection. Senator from Michigan.
Mr. President, I want to thank the distinguished chairman. And, Mr. President, I come to the floor, I think, with the hardest speech I've ever made, because I rise today to pay tribute to Sean Patrick McGee, a member of my staff who passed away suddenly over the weekend at the very young age of 26. There really are no words to describe the tragedy of losing somebody so young, especially someone like Sean, who was so smart and so filled with promise. His death is painful to all of us who know him, but the way he lived his life is really a source of hope and inspiration for us. Every single day, Sean worked hard to help others. Before coming to my office, he was a congressional liaison at the American Legion Auxiliary, where he was an advocate for veterans, service members, and their families. He joined my team in April of 2009 and quickly impressed everyone with his work ethic and his dedication. It didn't take long before he was promoted and took on additional responsibilities working on some of the most difficult and complex issues that we've been involved in. Mr. President, he was really the heart of my staff working on finance issues. He spent a lot of time with retirees who lost their pensions when our automobile industry went through bankruptcy. And he talked with them all the time to keep them updated on what we were doing to help. He took the lead on housing issues, working with families whose dreams were shattered when their homes were lost to foreclosure. He spent his final days on an amendment that I co-sponsored to help retired pilots who lost their pensions when the airline they worked for went bankrupt. He was so proud that we were able to include that amendment in the FAA bill. During our work last year on the Small Business Jobs Act, Sean's help was absolutely invaluable. He put together information for small business owners, letting them know how to take advantage of the new law. He grew up in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and was a very important part of our team working on issues related to the automobile industry, so critical for Michigan's future and for our economy, as we all know. He took great pride in his work for our great state. When he applied for a job in our office, he wrote, "At a young age, I was volunteering to do community service in Metro Detroit to better the community, and that work shaped my desire to serve Michigan." And he served Michigan well. In college, he secured a coveted internship in the office of the governor, working in constituent services. After graduation, he worked on a congressional campaign and for Senator Levin's campaign, always willing to lend a hand and make a difference. What really stands out about Sean is how good he was with people. On Capitol Hill, patience is sometimes a rare commodity, Mr. President. But Sean had more than enough to go around. When everyone was running a mile a minute, Sean was a beacon of calm. When his co-workers were stressed to the point of breaking, Sean could diffuse it with a wonderful one-liner that brought everybody, everything back into context. He was also an amazing friend and had a quiet, charming sense of humor. His favorite day of the week was when the cafeteria served chicken wings. He would get a group together and go down to lunch on Wing Day. He looked forward to that day all week long, and so did everybody else. Sean McGee was a young man who brightened so many of our days, and he will be terribly, terribly missed. I offer my sincerest condolences to his parents, Tom and Sharon, to his brother, Tom, and to his girlfriend of many years, Katie Culpa. who Sean loved so much. Sean was a gift to all of us, and we will always be thankful for the precious time we had with him. Next Tuesday, Mr. President, would have been Sean's 27th birthday. It's hard to believe we won't be able to celebrate it with him. But we can honor him by living our lives as he did. William Penn, one of the founders of our great nation, said, "I expect to pass through life but once. If therefore there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again." That's how Sean lived his life, and that was the gift that he gave to all of us who knew him. Thank you, Mr. President.
Under the previous order, the Senate stands in recess until 2:15 p.m.
The Senate taking a break now so members can attend their weekly party caucus lunches. Lawmakers have been working on a patent overhaul bill.